Hey there traders, welcome back for episode number 90 from the StockBandit.tv. It's a place you can always find trading videos to make you better, and I'm sure glad that you've joined me for this episode. I hope you've had a great weekend and that you're getting ready for a brand new week of trading. I'm excited and looking forward to that opening bell on Monday morning. So as is always the case on Sundays here, it's time to pause and reflect and take a look at the major averages. The action in the indices is really going to have the biggest influence on how individual stocks move. Even if you're an ETF trader, these videos can be extremely helpful just to give you some levels to watch. And so for me, I know that a strong market's going to lift a lot of stocks, a weak market's going to tear a lot of them down, and so it's always an appropriate place to begin my trading week by understanding where the key levels to be watching in the indices are currently sitting. And so that's what I want to do in this video. Up first, we're going to take a look at the NASDAQ, then we'll move on to the S&P and the Dow. So here we go. Last week, we did see a little bit of upside, but essentially, we've been consolidating here. And I want you to take note of the closing hashes on the past several bars. Obviously, we've traded intraday as low as here and as high as here just over the past 7 sessions. Now that's a pretty decent range on an intraday basis, but we keep really hugging this same general zone. And last week that was right around here, this 1979 level on the NASDAQ. We finished the week half a point from there, so that's clearly the level to be watching right now. We've also outlined some short-term support down here at around the 1935 level. And then, of course, the high set last week was at 2009. So those are kind of the 3 levels I'm watching. 1979, this 1935 area, and then 2009 for the NASDAQ. So currently we're sitting kind of right between the short-term support and resistance. We're kind of at the midline. And so if we can gather some momentum and push through last week's high, I think this index gets back on the move and is likely to take a lot of stocks with it. If we drift lower and either start to test or even break down through this 1935 area, then it may be time to possibly revert back to this 1900 area, which may be the next logical zone. And by the way, I failed to mention this earlier in the video. If you're not watching this in full screen, you're not getting the best quality. So go ahead and shift on over to that, and then we'll move on. Up next is the S&P 500. So this index really has carved out some short-term support right around here near 965. So that's been acting as a short-term floor. We also cleared this previous high, which was actually set on Monday and Tuesday, right around here, this 982 area. And since we've gotten over that, we've held it pretty nicely. Thursday, we broke out to the upside. We finished well off the day's high. And then Friday essentially finished flat. This index was up less than half a point, you'll notice. But we did pull back and held above this 932 zone. So that's still an important level in the very short term. And then, of course, last week's high set on Thursday, right up here at 996. Those are the levels I'm watching here in the near term. If we get over 996, I think we're back on the move to the upside. If we break down through this 965 zone, then that's possibly going to be time for some more retracement. For right now, though, here again, the closing range, meaning if I were to plot this on a line chart, in fact, why don't I just go ahead and do that? So here on the line chart, you see that we've really been finishing very flat here. So essentially, we've rallied up very big, and then we've just been moving sideways, essentially. We've been creeping a little bit higher, but we've been moving sideways here. So overall, this is some consolidation. We are starting to see volume start to kick up a little bit here. Let's see if price momentum can join that increase in volume here in the coming days. And moving on to the Dow, here again, we've established some short-term support right here around 9,000. That level was respected a number of times over the past several sessions. We did clear this short-term resistance area right up here, which was at the 91 quarter level. And since we've gotten above that, we have respected it. And so we closed above that on Thursday, added a little bit more on Friday. No real momentum taking place yet here, though. If we can clear Thursday's high to the upside with a push through 92.50, this index is likely to get back on the move. If instead we start to drift lower and undercut 9,000, it may be time for a little bit of a pullback to set in. So these are the general levels that I'm keeping an eye on in the major averages. Of course, if we do start to see some momentum, there are some additional upside levels to keep in mind. But for now, we seem to be contending with a short-term trading range that's getting established here. Let's see which side can start to build a little bit of momentum, the buyers or the sellers. So thanks again for joining me for this episode. I will be back soon with more videos, including more installments of the Stop Loss series. Be sure to check back frequently for that. Until I see you again, trade like a bandit.